The candles flickered across our dining room table like tiny searchlights, exposing every crack in Derek's performance. He'd arranged the silverware with military precision, uncorked an expensive Cabernet, and even picked up fresh flowers. Yellow roses, which I'd mentioned loving exactly once, 15 years ago. I'm Valerie, and I've spent 20 years learning to read my husband's tells. Tonight, they're screaming at me. You outdid yourself, I said, watching him serve the pasta with practiced grace. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Another tell. Can't a man surprise his wife? Derek's voice carried that smooth, practiced tone he usually reserved for his clients. You've been working so hard lately. You deserve this. I took a careful sip of wine, buying time. Where's Ella? At Chelsea's for a study group. I thought we could use some alone time. The pasta was perfectly al dente, probably from that expensive Italian place downtown. Derek never cooked. He claimed he didn't have the patience for it, just like he didn't have the patience for parent-teacher conferences or Ella's violin recitals. How thoughtful, I said, twirling the pasta around my fork. Especially since you've been so busy with the new project. How's that going? His hand tightened slightly around his wine glass. Brilliantly. We're ahead of schedule, actually. The client's thrilled. Lie number 1. I'd seen the emails he'd forgotten to close on his laptop last night. The project was hemorrhaging money, and the client was threatening to pull out. That's wonderful, I smiled, matching his performance. And Ryan's team is handling everything well. A microscopic pause. Ryan's been invaluable. Lie number 2. Ryan Collins, my best friend Maggie's husband, had quit the project 3 weeks ago. Derek hadn't told me why. We should have them over for dinner soon, I suggested, watching his reaction. It's been ages since we've seen them. They're probably busy, he deflected, reaching for the wine bottle. More? I covered my glass with my hand. I'm good. Actually, I got an interesting call today. Derek's shoulders tensed slightly as he poured himself another generous glass. Oh? From the bank. I kept my voice light, casual. There seems to be some confusion about our joint account. Apparently there was a rather large withdrawal last week. The candlelight caught the sheen of sweat forming on his upper lip. Must be a mistake. I'll look into it tomorrow. Lie number 3. The biggest one yet. That's what I thought at first, I continued. But then I remembered something odd. Last month, when I was organising the home office, I found a receipt from a jewellery store. Cartier. Quite expensive. Derek's smile froze. Valerie. Our anniversary isn't for months, I cut in, and my birthday was last week. You got me a cookbook, remember? The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. Outside, a car alarm went off, its wailing perfectly matching the moment. I can explain, he started, but I was already standing up, my napkin falling to the floor. Save it, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. I already called Maggie. She told me everything. The colour drained from his face. What exactly did she tell you? Enough. I grabbed my purse from the counter. I'm staying at her place tonight. Don't call me, don't try to explain. And Derek? I paused at the doorway, looking back at the elaborate dinner scene he'd staged. Yellow roses are my mother's favourite, not mine. I hate them. Always have. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Maggie. Did you tell him? I typed back. Phase 1 complete. Your turn. The engine purred to life, and I caught a glimpse of Derek in the rearview mirror, standing in the doorway with his perfect dinner falling apart behind him. He had no idea what was coming next. Neither did I, really. But for the first time in years, I felt absolutely certain about one thing. By the time this was over, he'd wish he'd never underestimated me. Maggie's guest room felt like a confessional booth at 3 in the morning. I sat cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through years of Derek's financial records on my laptop while she paced, her wine glass making dangerous circles in the air. He's been moving money around for months, I said, pointing to a series of transactions. Small amounts at first, then bigger. Always on days when Ella had away games or competitions. The bastard used your daughter's schedule as cover. Maggie stopped pacing, her face hardening. What about the Cartier receipt? My phone buzzed. Ella's name lit up the screen. Mom, Dad's being weird. He keeps asking where you are but won't let me call you. You okay? I typed back quickly. Everything's fine, honey. Stay at Chelsea's tonight. Love you. Valerie? Maggie's voice had that edge I'd learned to recognize. There's something you need to know about Ryan's resignation. Before she could continue, her front door slammed. Heavy footsteps thundered up the stairs. Maggie! Ryan's voice boomed through the house. Your phone's been off. Derek's looking for... He burst into the room, freezing when he saw me. Valerie! Shit! Ryan, I said, closing my laptop. Perfect timing. Want to tell me why you really quit Derek's project? He exchanged a loaded look with Maggie. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. Ryan ran a hand through his disheveled hair. Derek's been cooking the books for years. The tech consulting. It's a front. He's been moving money for some very dangerous people. Money laundering? The words felt foreign in my mouth. Worse, Maggie cut in. He's been stealing from his clients, setting up fake projects, skimming millions. Ryan found out and threatened to expose him. That's when Derek showed me what he had on me, Ryan said quietly. Old mistakes. Things that could destroy my career, my marriage. He looked at Maggie. Our life. My phone buzzed again. Derek, come home. We can fix this. Don't make me do something we'll both regret. He's threatening you. Maggie moved closer to me, reading over my shoulder. No, I said, a cold clarity washing over me. He's threatening Ella. Ryan's face darkened. He wouldn't. You don't know him like I do, I cut in, already gathering my things. 20 years of marriage and I never saw it. The real him, until now. Where are you going? Maggie grabbed my arm. To get my daughter. You can't, Ryan blocked the doorway. Derek's got people watching Chelsea's house. They followed you here. The room tilted slightly. What people? The kind you don't want to meet, he said grimly. Listen, there's something else. The Cartier receipt? It wasn't for jewelry. Maggie shot him a warning look, but he continued. It was for a safety deposit box. Whatever's in there, it's what Derek's really afraid of losing. Not you, not Ella. Something worth killing for. My phone buzzed one final time. Derek again. Found it, Val. Should have changed your passwords. See you soon. The blood drained from my face. My laptop. The encrypted folder labelled insurance that I'd been collecting for months. Every transaction, every secret meeting, every lie carefully documented. He's bluffing, I said, but my hands shook as I tried to remotely access my cloud storage. Access denied. No, no, no. I frantically typed in another password, then another. Access denied. Access denied. Valerie, Maggie whispered, what exactly did you have in that folder? Everything, I breathed. And now? A car door slammed outside. Through the window I caught the gleam of Derek's BMW in the streetlight. He stepped out, adjusting his perfect suit, that familiar charming smile playing on his lips as he looked up at the window. Back door, Ryan commanded, already moving. Now! But I stood my ground, watching Derek approach the house. 20 years of manipulation, of careful lies and calculated affection, all leading to this moment. He thought he had me cornered, trapped by his threats and his power. What he didn't know was that the folder he'd found wasn't my only insurance policy. The real evidence was still safely hidden, waiting in a Cartier safety deposit box, one purchased with his own money, through his own careful schemes. I picked up my phone and typed one last message. Game on. The safety deposit box key felt impossibly heavy in my coat pocket as I walked through Cartier's polished doors. 3 security cameras tracked my movement. I wondered which ones Derek had already accessed. Mrs. Thompson. The manager's smile was practiced perfection. Your husband called ahead, said you might be stopping by. Of course he did. I matched her smile with equal precision. How thoughtful of him. She led me to the vault area, her heels clicking against marble floors. He mentioned you might need assistance accessing your box. Something about a misplaced key? Actually, I pulled out the key, watching her expression shift. I have it right here. The manager's smile flickered. She touched her earpiece, murmuring something I couldn't catch. One moment, please. My phone vibrated. Maggie. Derek's men just left Chelsea's. Ella's safe. Ryan's with her. Before I could respond, another message flashed. Derek. Did you really think I wouldn't have a backup key? The manager returned with a security guard. Mrs. Thompson, I'm afraid there's been a problem with your box authorization. Has there? I kept my voice steady. That's interesting considering I'm the only authorized user. Your husband has no legal access, I cut in, pulling out a document. As you can see, this box was registered solely in my name. Any attempt to access it without my presence would be illegal. The manager's eyes darted between me and the paper. Another guard appeared by the vault entrance. My phone buzzed again. Derek. Check the news. I pulled up a financial news site. My stomach dropped. The headline screamed, Tech consultant Derek Thompson named in federal investigation. Below it, my own name appeared as a person of interest. Mrs. Thompson? The manager was watching me carefully. Is everything all right? Perfect, I said, though my hands had started to shake. The box, please. She hesitated, then nodded to the guards. They escorted us into the vault, where she inserted her master key alongside mine. The box slid out with a whisper of metal on metal. Inside lay a single USB drive and a folder of documents, copies of everything Derek thought he'd deleted from my cloud storage, plus something he didn't know I had. Recordings of his late-night phone calls, the ones he made from his home office when he thought I was sleeping. My phone lit up again. Maggie. Ryan just told me everything. About Derek. About what really happened 5 years ago. Val, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. The manager cleared her throat. Mrs. Thompson, we have another client waiting. I tucked the items into my bag, my mind racing. What did Maggie mean? What happened 5 years ago? Outside Cartier, a black SUV idled across the street. One of Derek's watchdogs, no doubt. I pulled out my phone and called the one number I'd been avoiding. Mom, Ella answered on the first ring. What's going on? Dad's face is all over the news, and these men were watching Chelsea's house and... Listen carefully, I cut in. Stay with Ryan. Don't tell anyone where you are. Not even Maggie. Especially not Maggie. Mom, you're scaring me. I know, honey. I'm scared too. My voice cracked. But I'm going to fix this. All of it. How? The SUV's engine rumbled to life. By doing what I should have done 5 years ago when I first suspected something was wrong, I'm going to make your father tell the truth. About what? Another text from Derek appeared. Last chance, Val. Meet me at the house in 1 hour. Alone. Or the FBI gets proof of your involvement. Mom? I watched the SUV pull away from the curb, tracking my movements. About everything, sweetheart. About the money laundering, about Ryan's resignation, and about what really happened to your Aunt Sarah. The line went silent. Then, barely a whisper. Dad said Aunt Sarah moved to Europe. No, honey. I stepped into a taxi, giving the driver our home address. That's just what he wanted everyone to believe. My phone buzzed one final time. An unknown number. Mrs. Thompson, this is Special Agent Carter with the FBI. We need to discuss your husband's activities and a missing person case from 2018. Please call immediately. The taxi merged into traffic, carrying me toward a confrontation 20 years in the making. Derek thought he was forcing my hand, but he'd forgotten one crucial detail. I'd learned all my best moves from him, and unlike my husband, I never played a card without knowing exactly how the game would end. The taxi crawled through evening traffic while I played Ryan's voicemail for the 3rd time. Sarah didn't leave for Europe. She found something in Derek's files. Something about offshore accounts and a company called Nexus Solutions. The night before she disappeared, she called me. Said she needed to meet. She never showed. I clicked off the phone as we pulled up to my house. Derek's BMW sat in the driveway, along with an unfamiliar silver Audi. Through the living room window, I caught glimpses of moving shadows. Keep the meter running, I told the driver. The front door was unlocked. Inside, Derek stood by the fireplace, drinking scotch with a man I'd never seen before. Both turned as I entered. There she is, Derek smiled, all warmth and charm. Agent Carter, this is my wife, Valerie. The FBI agent didn't smile back. Mrs. Thompson, we were just discussing your sister-in-law's European adventure. I set my bag down carefully, keeping the USB drive close. Were you? Fascinating story, Carter continued. She apparently moved to Brussels in 2018. No forwarding address, no social media presence, not even a passport record. It's almost like she vanished into thin air. People do that sometimes, Derek said smoothly. Start fresh, leave everything behind. Not Sarah, I countered, watching Derek's fingers tighten around his glass. She wouldn't leave without saying goodbye to her daughter. Emma still asks about her. Carter's eyebrows rose slightly. I wasn't aware Sarah had a child. Ex-husband's custody, Derek cut in quickly. Messy divorce, another reason she left. My phone buzzed. Maggie. Don't trust Ryan. He's not telling you everything about Sarah. Mrs. Thompson. Carter set down his drink. Your husband claims you handled all the family's financial documentation, including transfers to Nexus Solutions. Derek's expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. Val's always been better with numbers than me. Actually, I moved toward my laptop on the coffee table. I have some documentation you might find interesting, Agent Carter. About Nexus, about Sarah, and about what really happened to those missing client funds. Valerie. Derek's voice carried a warning. Think about Ella. I am thinking about Ella. I opened my laptop, typing in the password. I'm thinking about how she deserves to know what happened to her aunt. The screen remained black. I tried again. Nothing. Looking for this, Derek held up a small circuit board. Amazing what you can learn about computers when you're married to someone in tech. Like how to remove a hard drive. Carter watched our exchange with increasing interest. Mrs. Thompson, if you're attempting to cooperate— She's not, Derek interrupted. Are you, Val? Because that would mean admitting your own involvement. The transfers you authorized, the accounts you helped manage. Sarah figured it out, didn't she? That's why she came to you first. My blood ran cold. What? Oh, did Ryan not mention that part? Derek's smile turned cruel. Sarah reached out to you before she disappeared, left you a message about meeting at that little cafe you both loved. But you never showed up, did you? Too busy covering our tracks. That's a lie, but my voice shook. I never got any message. Check your old voicemails, Derek suggested. The ones from that phone you lost right after Sarah vanished. The one I replaced as an anniversary gift. The room spun slightly. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. Agent Carter, I started, but he was already pulling out handcuffs. Valerie Thompson, we need you to come with us for questioning regarding the disappearance of Sarah Thompson and the misappropriation of client funds through Nexus Solutions. My phone buzzed one final time. Ryan. Found Sarah's real message. It wasn't meant for you. She was trying to warn Maggie about Derek, about what he did to her husband. The pieces clicked into place. Maggie's strange behavior, Ryan's guilt, Derek's perfect alibi. All this time, I'd been looking at the wrong puzzle. Agent Carter, I said quietly, before you arrest anyone, you might want to ask my husband about Thomas Collins. Derek's glass shattered on the floor. Maggie's first husband, I continued, watching the colour drain from Derek's face. The one who died in that convenient car accident the same week Sarah disappeared. The one whose life insurance policy listed Nexus Solutions as the beneficiary. Carter's hand moved to his weapon. Mr. Thompson? But Derek was already running for the back door, leaving me standing in the wreckage of our lives, finally seeing the full picture of his betrayal. And my own unwitting role in it. Agent Carter's team swarmed the house while I sat in Maggie's kitchen, watching her hands shake as she poured coffee. The morning news played silently on her tablet. Tech executives still at large. FBI expands search. You should have told me about Thomas, I said quietly. Maggie's cup clattered against the counter. I couldn't. Derek, he had evidence that Thomas's death wasn't an accident, evidence that would have implicated Ryan. And Sarah found out. She was always too clever. Maggie's voice cracked. She traced the insurance payout to Nexus, then connected it to Thomas's brake lines being cut. She thought she was protecting me by confronting Derek first. My phone lit up. Unknown number. Storage Unit 247, midnight. Come alone if you want to know the truth. D. He's desperate, Ryan said from the doorway, making us both jump. The FBI found Thomas's real autopsy report this morning. Derek's running out of options. And allies, I added, watching Maggie carefully. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Val, she whispered, there's something else, about the night Sarah disappeared. Before she could continue, my phone rang. Ella. Mum? There's someone at Chelsea's house. They say they're from Dad's office, but... The line went dead. Ryan was already grabbing his keys. I'll get her. No. I stood up, my voice steadier than I felt. You've both done enough. This ends tonight. Valerie, wait! Maggie caught my arm. The storage unit. It's where Derek kept everything. All the evidence, including what really happened to Sarah. But he's not alone. There are others involved, powerful people who... Who killed your husband? I pulled away. Or who helped cover it up? Her face crumpled. Both. I checked my watch. 8 hours until midnight. 8 hours to decide who to trust, how to protect Ella, and whether revenge was worth the cost. My phone buzzed again. Agent Carter. Mrs. Thompson, we found something in your sister-in-law's old apartment. Something about you. The message included a photo, a letter in Sarah's handwriting, dated the day before she vanished. My hands trembled as I read, Val, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Derek didn't just kill Thomas, he's been eliminating anyone who threatens his operation. The evidence is in Storage Unit 247, but be careful. Maggie isn't who you think she is. She and Derek. The rest was torn off. I need to go, I said, already moving toward the door. Where? Ryan stepped in my path. To get my daughter, then to finish what Sarah started. You can't trust Derek, Maggie pleaded. I don't. I turned back, seeing them both clearly for the first time. But I trusted you, and look where that got us. My phone chimed one last time. Derek. Ella's safe. For now. Midnight. Come alone, or Sarah won't be the only sister you lose. I walked out of Maggie's house, leaving behind the coffee, the excuses, and any illusion of friendship. In my purse, the USB drive from the safety deposit box felt like a loaded gun. On it was everything Sarah had discovered, about Thomas, about Nexus, about Derek's entire operation. What Derek didn't know was that I'd already sent copies to every major news outlet and federal agency. They would go public at 12:01 a.m., 1 minute after our midnight meeting. The question wasn't whether Derek would fall. That was inevitable now. The question was how many people he'd take down with him, and whether Ella and I would survive the collapse. I got into my car, checking the glove compartment where Sarah's old gun still lay hidden. She'd given it to me years ago, saying sometimes protection meant being willing to pull the trigger. I hadn't understood then. I did now. As I pulled away, I caught a glimpse of Maggie in her window, phone pressed to her ear. Warning Derek? Warning Ryan? It didn't matter anymore. In 8 hours, everyone's true face would be revealed, including mine. I just hoped Ella would forgive me for what I had to do next. Storage Unit 247 loomed before me, its metal door reflecting the harsh fluorescent lights. 11:58 p.m. Sarah's gun pressed against my lower back, a constant reminder of what was at stake. The lock clicked open. Inside, Derek stood next to a bound figure in a chair. Ella, head bowed, shoulders shaking. Right on time, Derek said, closing the door behind me. Always so punctual, Val. So predictable. Let her go. Show me the USB drive first. I pulled it from my pocket, holding it up. Show me she's okay. Derek yanked the hood off Ella's head. She blinked in the harsh light, a bruise darkening her cheek. Our eyes met, and she tried to speak through her gag. You hit our daughter. My voice came out flat, deadly. Actually, a familiar voice said behind me. I did. Maggie stepped out of the shadows holding a gun. Sorry about that, Val. She struggled. The betrayal hit like a physical blow, but I kept my face neutral. Let me guess. You're the one who killed Sarah too? No, Derek laughed softly. That was all me. Sarah made the mistake of threatening to expose everything: the money laundering, Thomas's murder, the offshore accounts. I couldn't let that happen. And Thomas? That was me, Maggie said quietly. He found out about Derek and me, about how long we'd been together. He had to go. The pieces clicked into place. The long business trips, the late-night calls, the way Derek always seemed to know Maggie's schedule. 20 years, I said, understanding finally dawning. You've been playing me for 20 years. Longer, Derek admitted. Since college, Maggie and I had the perfect plan. Marry other people, build our alibis, run our operation through legitimate businesses. It worked beautifully until Sarah got suspicious. My phone vibrated. 12 Akaos a.m. 1 minute until everything went public. The USB, Derek demanded, pressing a gun to Ella's temple. I held it out, hands steady. Take it. Derek grabbed it, tossing it to Maggie. Check it. While Maggie plugged it into her laptop, I inched closer to Ella. Just a few more seconds. It's encrypted, Maggie frowned. The password, Derek ordered. Sarah, I said softly. The password is Sarah. Maggie typed it in. Her face went pale. Derek, it's empty. 12:01 a.m. My phone buzzed again. Now, I said, check the news. Derek's phone chimed, then Maggie's, then the sound of police sirens outside. What did you do? Derek's face contorted. I sent everything to the press, the FBI, everyone. I moved between him and Ella. Sarah taught me well. Always keep backups. You're bluffing, Maggie said, but her hands shook as she checked her phone. Breaking news. Tech scandal exposed. Multiple murders linked to Nexus Solutions. Derek lunged for me, but I was ready. Sarah's gun felt natural in my hands as I pulled it from my waistband. Don't, I warned. The storage unit door burst open. FBI agents poured in, Agent Carter leading them. Federal agents, drop your weapons. Everything happened at once. Maggie fired. I fired back. Derek tried to run. The air filled with gunshots and screams. When the chaos cleared, Maggie lay clutching her shoulder. Derek was in handcuffs, and I held Ella as she sobbed into my chest. Mom, she choked out, I heard everything. About Aunt Sarah, about... I know, baby. I stroked her hair, avoiding the bruise on her cheek. I'm so sorry. Mrs. Thompson, Agent Carter approached, we need to take your statement. I nodded, still holding Ella. As they led Derek past us, he paused. You really think this is over? He sneered. You have no idea how deep this goes. Who else is involved? You've just signed our daughter's death warrant. No, I said, watching his smug expression falter. I've just guaranteed her safety, because now everyone knows exactly what happens to people who threaten my family. They took him away, but his words echoed in my head. He was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Somewhere out there, more players waited in the shadows, more secrets threatened to surface. But for now, I held my daughter and watched the sunrise through the storage unit's small window, understanding finally that revenge wasn't about winning. It was about surviving. The interrogation room's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Derek's face as I sat across from him. 3 days since the storage unit showdown, and his perfect facade had finally cracked. You're not here to press charges, he said, studying me. So why come? I placed Sarah's old phone on the metal table between us. Because of this. His eyes flickered with recognition. Where did you... Ryan found it, in Maggie's safety deposit box, the one you helped her set up after Sarah disappeared. I pressed play on the last voicemail. Sarah's voice filled the room. Maggie, I know about the transfers. About Thomas. Derek's planning something big and you're next. Meet me at... I stopped the recording. She wasn't warning me that night. She was trying to save your girlfriend's life. And now Maggie's in custody anyway. Derek leaned back, chains rattling. Ironic, isn't it? Where's Sarah's body? His smile didn't reach his eyes. You know I can't tell you that. Can't, or won't. I slid a document across the table. Your empire's falling apart, Derek. Your clients are turning on you. But I can help. Help? He laughed. You destroyed everything. No, I exposed everything. There's a difference. I tapped the document. This is a deal from the FBI. Full immunity in exchange for names. All of them. You really think I'd... Ella's college fund, I cut in. The offshore account in her name. The one you thought I didn't know about. Sign this, and it stays hidden. His facade cracked further. You're bluffing. Am I? I pulled out my phone, showing him the account details. $20 million, Derek. Blood money from every deal, every murder, every betrayal. Sign the deal, or I send this to Agent Carter right now. You'd steal from your own daughter. I'd protect her from becoming an accessory to murder. My finger hovered over the send button. Your choice. Derek stared at the document, then at me. You've changed. No, I've woken up. I stood, gathering my things. You have until midnight to decide. After that, Ella loses everything. Just like Sarah's daughter did. Wait. His chains clinked as he reached for the pen. There's something you should know first, about Ryan. Save it. I already know he was your inside man at the FBI. I watched his expression shift. Why do you think he's in the next room right now, making his own deal? You played us all, Derek whispered, realization dawning. I learned from the best. I pushed the pen closer. Now sign. As Derek scrawled his signature, a knock came at the door. Agent Carter entered with Ryan in handcuffs. It's done, Ryan said. All of it. The accounts, the bodies, everything. Including Sarah? I asked quietly. He nodded, unable to meet my eyes. Including Sarah. Derek lunged across the table, but the chains held him back. You treacherous. Careful, I warned. Your immunity deal doesn't cover new charges. You think this is over? Derek snarled. You think you've won? There are still people out there, people who just lost everything, I finished. Check your phone. Oh, wait. You can't. But if you could, you'd see that every name Ryan just gave us is already in custody. Your safety net is gone. The truth hit him like a physical blow. For the first time in 20 years, I saw real fear in his eyes. Mrs. Thompson, Agent Carter said, we're ready for Sarah's location. I turned to leave, but Derek called after me. How long? How long what? How long have you been planning this? Working with the FBI? Setting us all up? I paused at the door, thinking of Sarah's last message, of Ella's bruised face, of 20 years of lies. Since the moment you forgot the most important thing about me. Which is? I'm not just your wife, Derek. I'm also a sister, and sisters don't abandon each other. I looked back one last time. Not even after death. The door closed on Derek's face, leaving him alone with his choices, his consequences, and the ghost of every life he'd destroyed in his pursuit of power. Outside, Ella waited with Agent Carter, clutching Sarah's old diary. Did he sign? He did. I took her hand. Ready to say goodbye to Aunt Sarah? She nodded, tears in her eyes. Ready. Together we walked toward the waiting cars, toward closure, toward whatever came next in our story of survival and justice. Behind us, Derek's empire crumbled to dust. The autumn wind scattered leaves across Sarah's newly placed headstone. After 5 years, we'd finally brought her home. Ella knelt beside the grave, arranging fresh flowers while I watched from a few steps back, giving her space to say goodbye. She would have loved these, Ella said, touching the yellow roses. Sarah's favourite, not mine. Another lie Derek had gotten wrong. My phone buzzed. Agent Carter. Derek's sentencing tomorrow. Still don't want to attend. I typed back, no need. We've moved on. The media circus around Derek's empire had finally quieted. Maggie's testimony had sealed his fate, along with dozens of others. Ryan's deal had saved him from the worst charges, but his career was over. Justice, or something close to it. Mom? Ella stood, brushing dirt from her knees. I found this in Aunt Sarah's diary. It's for you. She handed me a weathered envelope. Inside was a key and a note in Sarah's familiar scrawl. For when it's over, Storage Unit 248. My hands trembled. All this time, the truth had been next door to Derek's unit. Should we go? Ella asked. The storage facility looked different in daylight. Unit 248's lock clicked open easily, revealing a small space filled with cardboard boxes, each one labelled meticulously, evidence. Photos. Emma's future. Emma? Ella picked up a framed picture. Sarah's daughter. Your cousin. I opened the first box, finding stacks of documents. Sarah was gathering evidence against Derek long before she disappeared. She knew he'd come after her eventually. So she left a backup plan. She left insurance. I lifted out a USB drive labelled everything. For Emma. For us. For everyone Derek hurt. Ella's phone chimed. She checked it, then showed me the screen. A news alert. Breaking, tech mogul Derek Thompson found dead in cell hours before sentencing. My hands didn't shake this time. Suicide? They're investigating. Ella watched me carefully. Are you okay? I thought about Derek's last words to me during our final visit yesterday. You'll never know everything, Val. Some secrets stay buried. Now he'd buried them permanently. Mom? Ella touched my arm. There's something else in that box. Beneath the documents lay a sealed letter addressed to Emma, and beneath that, a photo I'd never seen before. Sarah at her desk, pregnant with Emma, smiling at the camera. On the back, she'd written, "Some fights choose us. The trick isn't winning, it's knowing when to stop." What do we do now? Ella asked. I picked up Emma's letter. We find your cousin. Tell her everything. Let her decide what to do with Sarah's insurance policy. And the rest? I looked at the boxes of evidence, at 5 years of Sarah's meticulous planning, at all the secrets that had died with Derek. We burn it. Sarah didn't want revenge. She wanted protection. For Emma, for you, for everyone these secrets could still hurt. But Derek got what he deserved. I pulled out my lighter. Sometimes justice isn't about exposing everything. Sometimes it's about knowing which truths to bury and which ones to set free. We worked in silence, burning each document, each photo, each piece of evidence Sarah had gathered. As the last box emptied, Ella spoke quietly. Aunt Sarah knew, didn't she, that it would end like this? She knew Derek better than anyone. I pocketed Emma's letter. She knew the only way to truly stop him was to let him destroy himself. The final photo curled in the flames. Derek and Maggie at a college party, young and unguarded, their future crimes still unwritten. As it burned, my phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number. Mom, this is Emma. Agent Carter gave me your number. Can we meet? Ella read the message over my shoulder. Ready? I thought about Sarah's words. Some fights choose us. But maybe the real choice comes after, in how we end them, in what we keep and what we let go, in how we rebuild from the ashes of revenge. Ready, I said, taking Ella's hand. We left the storage unit empty, carrying only Emma's letter and the weight of choices yet to come. Behind us, the last embers of Derek's secrets turned to ash, and ahead, the autumn wind scattered leaves like memories across our path home.